It is great to have you here tonight at Radiant. For those that don't know me, my name is Seth. I'm the pastor here, and it is, man, it's great to have you here, and yet in the same breath, it's kind of hard to believe that Christmas is here, right? Like I don't know about you, but man, I feel like Christmas just kind of snuck up on me. Anyone relate to that? I mean, it feels like we just finished like Thanksgiving dinner, and now all of a sudden, like we're here. It's Christmas weekend. In fact, I was thinking about this, and I came across a video clip that kind of speaks to this, and I think it's a clip that you'll enjoy. So why don't you check this out? Merry Christmas!
Hi, sir.
Merry Christmas! Ho ho ho!
Ho ho ho.
Merry Christmas!
Oh my God.
That's awesome. Wow! Merry Christmas! Ho ho ho!
Very nice.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas! Oh! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas! Happy New Year!
Look at the so cute.
Enjoy your donuts. All right. Yeah, anyone relate to that? Again, it can feel like Christmas just sort of sneaks up with you, sneaks up on you. But I love that clip because I actually kind of purposely shared that clip because it kind of leads us into what I want to talk about tonight with the moments we got in front of us. And that's how Christmas, this message of hope and joy, can have a way of showing up in the places we least expect, right? In a way of showing up in the places we least expect. In fact, that's exactly what we find in the actual Christmas story in Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 7. As we're just going to kind of read through this, and then there's one kind of phrase in this that I want us to kind of camp out on tonight. And we see it's Luke 2, verse 1 through 7 says, "In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. And so everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, to the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child." And here's the phrase that, again, we're going to come back to, which is while they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. And she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for him. I love that phrase. And in verse 6, it says, again, while they were there. You know, I think it could be kind of easy for us to sort of gloss over that phrase, gloss over that line, because we don't fully know where there is. And don't get me wrong here, like generally speaking, like we know where there is. I mean, we know it's Bethlehem, the little town of Bethlehem. But do we really understand there? Do we really understand what Bethlehem was, this place known as Bethlehem? Because I think for some of us, we can almost kind of take a Hallmark view of Bethlehem. Like we hear Bethlehem, oh little town, oh sweet little Bethlehem, and we can kind of think and kind of have images of this kind of quaint little B&B, bed and breakfast kind of community, lined with old Victorian homes, right? And cool little hipster shops, and sort of like Mary and Joseph are just sort of taking a baby move. Like they're just taking a little bit of us time before the craziness of their firstborn son arrives, right? And we can kind of think this, but listen, the reality is of this this place known as Bethlehem. This was far from a vacation. This was far from a vacation. In fact, something you've got to really understand, the reality of Bethlehem was a long way off from a Hallmark movie. The reality of Bethlehem was a small town. It was a community of about 300 people, and it was in the middle of nowhere. This was a place that nobody purposely intended to go to. It was on no one's vacation wish list. I mean, you got to think, this is more Christmas Valley than Maui, right? Anyone been to Christmas Valley, Oregon? I mean, middle of nowhere. That can give you a little bit of a glimpse, and I apologize if you are from Christmas Valley. I mean, I'm sure it's a great town. It's got some good qualities. But Bethlehem, like no one wanted to go there. This is a place no one really wanted to go. And truth is, they didn't either. Truth is, Mary and Joseph didn't want to go there either. The only reason they're going to Bethlehem, the only reason they find themselves, going there is because the government at the time forced them to go there. It was a time of a census. They lived under a time of very oppressive government, very oppressive rule, and so they had this census, this decree that all the families during this time had to go back to the origin of the husband's or the father's place of birth. And so they're going there reluctantly. I mean, here, along with thousands of other families, are basically like refugees, or they're being sent to a place, sent to a town that certainly for Mary, she would not want to go, get gone. I mean, again, you got to understand with Mary, I mean, at this point, like, she's 9 months pregnant. I mean, she just finished the baby room. She got the decor. She got the teddy bear. She got to look in the way she wanted to get a look. I mean, she's expecting a baby, and now all of a sudden, you got the government coming in saying, hey, look, you got to leave your home. You got to go to Bethlehem. You got to go to the in-laws to live. And so here she is. I mean, she's getting kicked out. There's a place she didn't want to go. And by the way, I don't know if you've ever done anything or gone anywhere with a woman who's 9 months pregnant, but how many know there's a challenge to that for everyone involved, might I add. In fact, I remember when my wife and I, when Holly was pregnant, about this length of time with Austin, we took a trip to visit some friends back in the Midwest, and we ended up kind of a layover, a little stopover at the Minnesota, or the Minneapolis airport in Minnesota, and I remember when we got there, like, it's a big airport, we discovered. Like we got there, and we only had like 30 minutes to get from like one end of the airport to the next to make our flight. And so we get off the plane, and I don't know what, just instinct, I take off. Like I'm starting to run, I'm going, I'm like, we are not going to miss this flight. And I look back, and there's Holly. Like, Holly kind of is just like shuffling, and I remember this is definitely not great husband moment. In fact, this is definitely not a highlight moment, husband moment, because I look back and I remember just asked her, like, what? Why are you going so slow? Like, we've got a flight to catch. And I remember just like, why? Gee, I don't know why. Like, could it be that I'm carrying your son? I mean, just... And again, there's frustration, there's challenges when you're traveling and you're going places. I mean, 9 months pregnant, and you can just imagine some of the frustration for Mary and Joseph at this time. Because, not only are she's going to a place she doesn't want to go, but mode of transportation, we're not talking like first class in an airplane. We're talking like donkey, traveling for days and days on end, rough terrain. You can just imagine Mary's having to stop at every little oasis, every little pit stop. Like, I got to go to the restroom, I got to get some food to eat. And when she's not asking to stop and slow the trip down, you got Joseph, who's probably wanting to stop as well and pretend like he's going to the restroom. In reality, he's just trying to get a little bit of a break from the tension and the argument and the frustration and just the challenges of traveling. And then, by the way, on top of it, remember, it says this is their firstborn child. Anyone with kids, there's a lot of anxiety during that time. I mean, like, when you think of your firstborn kid, I mean, talk about stress and anxiety. And on top of it, this is not just any kid. This is the Son of God, who the fate of humanity rests upon his shoulders. And they've been entrusted to raise, to parent. And again, they've got all this pressure. And then they find themselves going to a place, again, that they don't want to go. And listen, here's the thing, is when there's some place we don't want to be, it leads to a place of frustration. That's the first place we see. We see this place of frustration, and I wonder if some of you aren't at that same place tonight. That place of frustration. You're frustrated because you're in a place you don't really want to be. Maybe not like geographically or physically, but if you look at your life, you're in a place, when you look at your family, maybe your job, you're in a situation where maybe you never thought or dreamed or hoped or wanted to be. Your life is not where you wanted to be. You're not where you thought you'd be. Maybe going into 2018, you had these goals and you had these dreams, and yet now, as the tail end of it, as this year starts to wrap up, only you're at a place where you find you didn't end up hitting the gym like you thought you would, or you didn't get the new job like you thought you would. You didn't get married like you thought you would. And if we're honest, maybe not every part of your life. I think all of us could admit and acknowledge that there's at least a part, maybe some parts of our life where we're not maybe where we want to be. And when we're there, when there's some place we don't want to be, it always leads to frustration. And that's where we see Mary and Joseph. We see Mary and Joseph in this place of frustration, but it doesn't just stop there. See, Mary and Joseph, they go on, and we discover that not only are they going to a place that they don't want to be there, but the reality is, as we're going to come to discover, it's a place where the people who are there don't want them to be either. The people that are there don't want them to be in this place either. See, we discover that not only do they step into a place of frustration, but also a place of rejection. A place of rejection. See, this is the part of the story where typically most of us, we kind of understand kind of the movie version of it, or maybe what we learned in Sunday school. This is the part where they roll into Bethlehem, and they cruise up to the Motel 6 or the Holiday Inn, see the big glowing no vacancy sign, and it kind of takes off from there. But the truth is that there's actually more to it than that. See, actually, most scholars actually tell us that actually back then there really was no such thing as hotels and inns, at least how we understand them. In fact, it's the reason. In fact, a better translation, and some of your translations actually say this, rather than saying that there was no room in the inn, actually says there was no room in the guest house, or in the guest room. There was no guest room available. Because you got to understand, back then is that when people would travel and they would go visit towns, is they didn't, again, stay in these, like a Motel 6 or Holiday Inn. They stayed with friends. They stayed with family. They stayed with people they knew. They would go into these towns, and oftentimes, if you had a house, most people, when they built their house, when they constructed their house back at this time, they would have, ironically enough, what was called an upper room. They'd have a space above them that was the guest room, the upper room. And the reason that they would build it on the top floor, they built a second floor, is because it was to show honor. It was to show honor to the guests. Hospitality was a big deal back then, and so they would create these spaces, and again, they would put them. In fact, actually, it's why when you read of Jesus' travels, you oftentimes read of him staying in homes and staying with people. Even in Acts 2, we see the disciples staying, ironically enough, in the upper room. That was a guest room in someone's house. Now, stick with me on this. Think about this. And you, by the way, you can come to your own conclusions on this. I could be totally wrong on this. But think about this. This was Joseph's hometown. It was Joseph's hometown. This is the place he grew up. And so here you got Mary, and Mary's like I don't want to be here. I don't want to be, I don't want to move into the in-laws in this season in my life. I don't know anyone here. I heard some stories about this place, and none of them are good. And then you got Joseph there. It's like, hey, don't worry about it, girl. It's okay. These are my people. This is my town. This is where I grew up. I know some folk. I got connections. And Mary's like, have you thought maybe we should phone ahead, let some people know we're coming? And you got Joe's like, no, don't worry about this. And so they come into Bethlehem. The text doesn't really tell us, but you can sort of kind of fill in your own blanks here. But again, remember, this is where Joe is from. And he's here, he's looking for a guest room. Now, if you're Joseph, whose house do you think he went to first? Who said, chances are, he did it when he was looking for a guest room, looking for a place to stay. He probably didn't go to a stranger's place. Now, he could have, maybe. But my guess is he probably went to the home of family, or at least someone related to family, someone really close to him. And listen, here's where I want you to get is maybe it wasn't that there wasn't any room, but it's that no room was made available to them. That they couldn't find a place, and they couldn't find a place to stay. See, this was a place of rejection. Again, you can just sort of imagine here, Joseph's rolling up on the scene with his pregnant fiance at the time, and he shows up, and you just imagine, here he is, and again, could be wrong on this, but I'm just picturing my mind here. He shows up and knocks on the door, mom and dad, and hey, guys, remember this girl I've been telling you about? This girl, Mary? Yeah, hey, surprise, she's here. I want you to meet her, and by the way, we're getting married, and maybe the parents at that time, they're excited, they're like, oh, that's great, and so they look down and they see this bump. And they look down like, whoa, wait a second. And again, now again, you got to understand, back then, this was more than, to have a child out of wedlock, this was more than a taboo thing. This was actually against the law. It was a really big deal back then. And so you can just sort of imagine sort of the mind, the gears working. Here's Joseph going, hey, Mom, Dad, we're home. Can we stay in the guest room? Can we stay in the upper room, the place of honor? And you just imagine sort of the parents, assuming the worst and like, yeah, I don't know if you can necessarily stay here, but in the upper room, the place of honor. But you know what we've got? You can stay in the garage. You can stay in the manger. We've got this little spot below where you can stay. See, Bethlehem was a place of rejection. It was a place they didn't want to be there in the first place. And it's safe to say there were people there that didn't want them there either. You ever found yourself in a place of rejection? Mm-hmm. Or maybe you had these dreams again, you had these goals, maybe you're there right now, and you just feel like it's one shut door after the next, feels like one opportunity kind of closes after the next. You get the Forrest Gump treatment, you can't sit here, you can't be here. That's where Mary and Joseph were. That's the place that they were at, and so we see this place of frustration, we see this place of rejection, and yet what's cool is in the middle of this, we see Jesus being born. Jesus shows up, and it's interesting in this story. It almost seems like, well, this will be the turnaround. You can almost imagine like Joseph and Mary, like, yeah, things aren't working out the way we thought. We're staying in the garage. There's animals, there's noise, and yet, at the sight of this beautiful, healthy little baby boy, like, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe things are starting to look up. Maybe things are starting to turn around, and yet, we also find the story is not just a place of frustration, a place of rejection, but also a place of opposition. See, there was another guy, King Herod at the time, who was the ruler of the place. He found out this prophecy that a king, a savior, was to be born in this town of Bethlehem. And so, being insecure as he was, he would send these troops, and sent these troops basically to go and to eliminate a single child who was under the age of 2. To basically, again, to basically put Joseph and Mary and all these families, basically put them under attack. And listen, you ever felt that way? You ever felt like you're in a place of opposition? Ever felt like you're coming under attack? Maybe some of you are there, as no doubt there's some of you probably that can relate to this, where you felt like this year, you just felt like you've been under attack. Maybe your marriage has been under attack. Maybe your family has been under attack. Spiritually, you felt under attack. And it doesn't matter how much you try to man up or woman up, how much you try on your own, it just feels like one difficulty, one trial, one challenge after the next. And yet, it's here. It's in this place. It's there where we begin to find the hope of Christmas, the beauty of Christmas. See this beauty of Christmas, what we find is there. It's in this place, not the romanticized version of Bethlehem, not the Hallmark version of Bethlehem, but this place of frustration, the place of rejection, the place of opposition. It says it's there that the time came. It's there that Christmas happened. It's there that Advent happened. When I say Advent, that literally just means appearance. In other words, what we got to get here is that Advent's happening. Advent happens, notice, in the middle of adversities, in the middle of adversaries. Notice it's not in the absence of struggle. It's not in the absence of darkness. It's not when everything is going right. In fact, it happens in the time where Joseph and Mary probably felt like everything was actually going wrong. And yet it's in that moment, in that place, it says the time came. That place God chose to show up most. And can I tell you, when you think about it, isn't that when God always shows up the most? You see, sometimes we can think things have got to get better before God can show up in our lives. Right? Like, but the beauty of Christmas, the wonder of Christmas, the hope of Christmas, what it reminds us is that actually, no, when things are at their worst, that's actually when God is at his best. In fact, I like how the Gospel of John speaks of the story, speaks of God showing up in difficult, hard, unplanned moments. When he says, and the light shines in the darkness, this is speaking of Jesus, and it says the darkness could not overcome it. See, oftentimes when it's at our worst, it seems like God is at his best. When life is at its darkness, that seems like it's when God seems to be and shine his brightest. And here's why I share this, is because just because you didn't choose where you are, doesn't mean God can't use where you are. Just because you didn't choose where you are in your life right now, the season, the place, doesn't mean God can't use where you are. In fact, I can't tell you how many times I've seen this in my own life. Where I've been in places and I've been in seasons that I found myself in the last place I wanted to be. And yet it seems like it's oftentimes, when I look back, it's in those times, it's in those places, it's in those seasons that actually, if I'm honest, God seemed to show up most powerfully in my life. God seemed to show up most present and most keenly. I was most keenly aware of his working in and showing up in and through my life. It was in these moments, in these places, sometimes of opposition, places, sometimes of frustration, places, sometimes of rejection, that seemed like God showed up the most. And look, I don't know where there is for you, where Bethlehem is for you, but for some of you, it's safe to say you didn't choose